Adam Marshall, welcome to Business Insider.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You're here as a man who's been persistent in his pursuit of accolades and more.
Absolutely.
And the development of that. Let's talk about a little bit of the history. First of all, we should thank Milestone Bellanova for letting us nomadic interviewers use their facilities.
Well, it's a beautiful facility, nice and new building.
Yeah, wonderful advertising and communications group run by Barbara Ketley. Now, thanks for coming and cheerio. No, accolades and more kind of grew out of a business you bought in 2006.
That's
in
correct.
Toukley.
Yes.
Talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I bought an existing business based over at East Toukley. It was just a small trophy business running out of around 58 square metres. Predominantly, we sort of started there with a passion, as everybody does when they first start a business, wanted to grow it. We were successful from there. I had to sort of move out of the premises within the first 12 months simply because we just outgrew it. We moved the business over to Charmhaven into 180 square metres. We were there for approximately 3 years. We experienced the same problems again. Good problem to have, but
absolutely,
yeah.
Everyone yearns for that problem.
Absolutely, yeah. So we moved it from there back two years ago now in Christmas down to Tuggerah Business Park. We're in 240 square metres.
What sort of environments Toukley Business Park? I know what Tuggerah Business Park like.
Look, it's good. There's a lot of professional businesses in there. There's a lot of smaller businesses in there. It is a fair mix. It sort of is becoming well known as the hub of the Central Coast for business now. So, you know, although this end of the coast being Erina and Gosford, I think Tuggerah will never take that over. It's more of an established area, but as far as the north end of the coast, sort of north of Lisero, it's certainly growing and it's certainly getting a lot more professional, and there's a lot more businesses and bigger name companies moving into there, so it's a good place to be. Okay.
Was Accolades and More always going to be a franchise or a licensed business, or did that come along a bit later?
No, well, look, it was a plan back in 2008. You're probably aware of the gentleman named Bill Annesley from Central Coast Business Coaching. He came onto the scenes quite easily back in 2008, just as a coach, similar to yourself.
Not as good.
No,
he's very good.
I'm not going to touch that one. But you know, one of the first things Bill actually noticed was when he walked into NV Trophies, what it was then, was the industry itself, how franchisable it actually was. How, you know, everybody likes to be trophies, everybody likes recognition. So really back then, that was when the seed was planted. We've been working in the background for a couple of years to get it to where it is today. But yeah, look, when I first bought the business, no, it wasn't. But as it started to grow, we could see the scope, we could see the gain, and yeah, definitely.
On that path, because it is a path, it's not a straight line.
No.
Have there been decisions or strategies that you kind of look back on and say, oh, wow, we would have probably done that a bit differently?
Not so much as in the business itself, but it's in the franchising side, definitely.
Can we talk about how you got that established? Did you do it all yourself, or did you use a specialist?
Not at all. We actually did use a specialist. There was a lady named Carolyn Dufton from Franchising Plus, who's also based here on the coast. She's a franchising consultant, very, very good at what she does.
If people want to look at Caroline, she's actually up close with you.
Oh, is she?
Okay.
Well.
So
look, I highly recommend Caroline. She's very good at what she does. She creates a lot of work for whoever's going to be setting it up. That's her job. So yeah, so we utilised Caroline's services, and we still do today for different things. Whether it's not so much recruitment, but once we have people on board, Caroline's actually addressing them within the training process and explaining the franchising code of practice and what's sort of expected of them. So it's very, very good.
Okay. Through to the identification of potential franchisees, have you always looked after that recruitment process?
No. Very early in the piece, well, when I say early in the piece, just over 12 months ago, as in all, we're all in small businesses and we all tend to wear too many hats. Back at this time, I was wearing probably 6 hats and it was just simply too hard. So I actually outsourced it through a recruitment agency. That was a mistake.
Was it a recruitment agency or a franchise recruitment group?
Well, it was a franchise recruitment group.
Okay,
they're a business broker.
Yeah. Okay.
What I've found since I've taken this over, and because I'm actually looking after the recruitment side myself, is the message I'm getting through from people who are making inquiries is the passion in my voice and the excitement in my voice. They can hear it. I think when you're talking, when someone else is trying to do that on your behalf, the message just doesn't get across. Yeah. As hard as it is and as busy as you are, you just have to do it yourself.
Okay, that's interesting. You're 4 years into this new brand now. Tell me what the next 2 to 3 years are looking like for you.
At the moment, it's looking quite good. Inquiries are quite encouraging in far as the franchising side go. Accolades and More is still a company that runs out there and services a lot of companies and sporting clubs on the coast. I can sort of see in the next couple of years, my sort of plan there would be to continue for Accolades and More Proprietary Limited to build up and servicing people on the coast, and I'm looking at selling that off, and that would become part of the franchise model, which would allow me to sit back and help everybody and all the team make sure that my full concentration that way can be focused on the team.
That image of you sitting back, I'm having some trouble with.
Yeah, well, probably loose words. There's it won't be a sit back as such, but it's more about running the system. It's not too bad at the moment. We have 2 on board, but with the inquiry process that's sort of going on and the inquiry levels that are coming through, it mightn't be that far away. There's a fair bit of interest out there, which is great. It's very encouraging.
As your business has evolved, what surprised you? Has anything surprised you?
Are you talking about more of Accolades and More? Or it's the potential. It's the potential of the industry. It's a great industry. Even back in 2006 when I entered into the industry just purely doing trophies, because obviously now with Accolades and More we're doing trophies, sporting clothing, embroidery, screen printing.
Maybe even a shirt. Yeah.
We do all the business shirts and picture framing. So it's grown somewhat, but it still falls into what we class as the recognition industry. And at the end of the day, Mark, who doesn't want to be recognised? Everybody's out there. All your franchise systems themselves, and your McDonald's, your KFCs, they're all doing awards. They're all doing staff awards. So it's a great industry, and I love it. And at the end of the day, we always say we're creating smiles. There's not many jobs you can actually go in there and know that whatever a product you're giving out is going to create a smile. So whether it's a 3-year-old kid or a 30-year-old man, same thing.
Let's talk about work-life.
Sorry,
that wasn't a joke.
Yeah, no, it's a funny combination, but isn't it?
Is there a balance? You're working with your wife?
Look, Anne-Marie comes in from time to time. We do try and keep that separate. I think it's, at times she'll come in for a couple of days just to sort of chit-chat, and Anne-Marie's got her own personal things going on at the moment. But I do try to balance that part out a little bit, but, she would probably argue that one. She'd probably say that I do tend to sit at home and work a lot at home. I do, but I enjoy it. I've got a 16-year-old boy, and, my main focus is to try to spend as much time as I can. Again, he'd probably say that I do work a little bit more, but we get on great. He's a great kid. I love him to death. My wife's the same. I wouldn't be here today without him. Yeah. They're so supportive. Even Jack's little job. When we get an order for medallions, whether it's 100 or 1,000, that's Jack's little job. So I come home and there's 1,000 trophies, buddy. Away you go. Yeah. I'll give him $100 to do it, and he's never said no.
So at this point, we say, give us your rant. What can we do, if we could, to make business life easier business easier for businesses like yours?
Outsource. Oh, look, there is ways of doing it. Good help is obviously the biggest important part. I've got a staff is everything. You don't need a lot of staff, but you need good staff, and they are very hard to get hold of these days. I've got a great workshop manager, Sarah Nicholas. She's fantastic. She's been with us for 4 years, nearly 5 years now. She looks after completely everything downstairs, and in fact we're actually getting feedback from our existing franchisee now how professional and how great she is. I think that passion's sort of been through her now, and she's sort of delivering the same message. And I left there this afternoon or this morning, and Sarah's on the phone to one of our franchisees, Rodney and Natalie in Melbourne, and she was just giving them a quick help, how to do something, a bit of guidance, and away it goes. She's fantastic. So staff's very, very important. Passion. I think if you've got passion, you can get along a lot further these days. There's always going to be stumbling blocks, but it depends on how high you're prepared to jump to get over them, really.
What were did you have a particular stumbling block you look back at?
Not really. No. It's because this industry it's such an easy industry to enter.
And it's such a positive industry.
Absolutely. It sort of just tends to lend itself. You just flow with it. There's a lot of work that goes in the background. Don't get me wrong. It's not something you just sort of anybody can just walk in and do, but the recognition industry is a bit of a funny structure. It sort of tends to lend itself to hobby-based businesses, and I think that's the difference. Well, I know that's the difference with Accolades and More. We have policies, we have procedures, we're structured, we're run as a proper business. We're going to be there tomorrow. Whereas you do tend to get in the recognition industry, especially with the trophy product, is people running out of garages at home and sort of don't have tax file numbers and don't have the insurance and all the rest of it. And, we've probably all heard of this before, but
and are overworked at the end of
absolutely
the winter season and summer season.
Yeah. Well, we're still that as well, but but that's exactly right. It's all about having structure and all the rest of it, and that's what Accolades and More is all about. It's no different to a lot of franchise systems out there. If you've got a system that works, it tends to run itself a bit, and this is what's happening.
A question about local networking. We met through a chamber, I think, originally.
We're actually members of Wyong Chamber,
right?
Which is quite a big chamber here on the coast now. They've got over 100 members. I'm not too sure exact members, but look.
Do they work for you?
Yeah, they help, absolutely. Yeah, they not just me. They work for all their members. But there is areas that they've certainly helped us. We were fortunate enough to take the Retail of the Year out back in 2007. So I think that's certainly helped. And they were very, very strong with helping us with the branding side of it. And the dear departed Kevin Fawkes always worked very, very hard to sort of help us out and help all his members out. But Kevin's definitely helped Accolades and More out. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, I encourage I encourage any chamber for any business. In fact, I've just got off the phone this afternoon with my franchisee in Melbourne and suggested to join the local chamber down there for two reasons. Being in the wrecking industry, they all do awards, and I actually found out they actually do 5 separate awards a year. So that's a good chamber to be in for the awards side of it. But on the other end, it's also very good for networking. Yeah, networking is everything.
Do you have a process? Do you set goals for your networking, or...?
Not so much for the networking side, but we certainly, throughout the training, we're suggesting where to network and sort of iterating how important it is. Because without networking, networking at the end of the day is a really nice word for branding. People know, if they're aware of you, they'll think of you. You've got to be top of mind these days.
It's an interesting analogy. You're the first one to say, okay, it is an extension of branding, but it truly is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No problems at all. Thanks for having me.
Should I ask for my award now?
Yeah, mate. I've just noticed there's not accolade over there too.